Okay, so Terry, let's break down these charges right now. You have a couple. They're both charged with, there's an overlap of charges, but Jennifer Rosenbaum is actually charged with malice murder and felony murder, while Joseph Rosenbaum is facing second-degree murder. Why the difference?
The difference is here, the prosecution is trying to show that it's the mother who was really involved with all of the harm to the children. She's the one who abused them, she's the one who beat them, and that the father really was lesser involved. So the charges against him are going to be a little less.
Are you surprised that they're being charged together?
I'm not, because as the custodial parents, they really do have a joint responsibility for the care of these foster children. So I understand why the state would want to bring them in together.
And as a married couple, right, there's that issue that they wouldn't be able to be witnesses against each other?
That's right. They could claim that they want to have the privilege and not testify against each other. But right now, we'll see what happens, and I doubt very seriously either one of them is going to testify.
Well, they're saying they did nothing wrong. They're saying this was a complete accident. We're going to get to the defense in a minute. I want to continue on with the prosecution's opening statement from attorney Adasha Young. So let's continue on. All right, this is a horrific crime, a horrific situation that happened to a 2-year-old. Now, what we're learning is that we believe when we come back from our break, the prosecution is calling the victim's birth mother and her sister, who was 4 years old at the time. She's 7 now. What can we expect from that kind of testimony?
It's interesting because I haven't seen it where they put a young child like that on the stand. It's going to be difficult because what is she really going to remember from that long ago?
Right.
I think the birth mother will be more impactful because she will have a lot of emotions and she will obviously be distraught about the horrible death of her child. Yeah,
I'm not sure. They might not be calling them today, but they might be calling them at some point. So I want to correct right there. The point is, the prosecution's building this case. Is this a tough case for a defense, defense in general, but also to get an impartial jury? Because when you listen to what the crime is, when you listen to what ultimately happened to this girl, and the defense is claiming it's an accident, but they still have the death of a 2-year-old girl, how tough is it to get a jury to maybe buy your argument?
I think it's going to be very tough for the defense, and the prosecution is really doing a good case. She's telling a story. She's saying that this is a facade, that these defendants look like they are upstanding citizens, but the reality is they really have been abusers all along, and she's doing a good job of showing that, and it's going to be very hard for the jury to do anything else.
How does the defense cross-examine sensitive witnesses like the victim's birth mother?
I think they're going to have to tread very carefully because it's the victim's birth mother.
Yeah.
And I think they're just going to have to question her credibility and not really attack her.
Well, we're going to have to see. It's an interesting but yet ultimately such tragic case to cover. This is awful. Okay, so this is horrifying. The idea is that these injuries, November 17th, 2015, same time that the victim was died, is that this is a result of child abuse. Do these injuries seem consistent with that?
They absolutely do, and they are so severe, and they're in multiple parts of Millie's body. It's on her elbow, it's on her hip, it's on her hand, and then she has a rash. It's clear that this is abuse because it's just so substantial.
And she says, I don't know what happened.
Exactly. Most children, when they fall and they get a boo-boo, they say, oh, I was running, I fell down, I was on my bike, I had an accident. But here, every time she's asked, she says, I don't know. Well,
again, this is Layla's sister, and it's believed that Millie will take the stand. A 7-year-old, again, those are the reports right now. What would she testify to?
I think they're probably going to ask her, how was she treated? And, does she remember getting, boo-boos? And how she got those bruises and those, terrible, bruises and hurt to her body. So, the thing is, this happened years ago, and yeah. I'm not sure she's going to remember how that occurred.
She was a young girl. She was 4 years old.
Exactly.
The idea here is that foster parents, right? Do you see a lot of cases like this where you have foster parents who engage in this level of abuse?
Well, it's interesting here because these foster parents on paper are perfect, and you wouldn't see that type of abuse. Normally, for a family that's educated and they are aware of the system. But here you have foster parents. One of them worked for the DA's office. The other
Right.
one was in a correctional facility, I believe. And so you wouldn't expect it here.
The likelihood that they would win, though, seems very low, considering when you have such underage victims, when you have such young victims. I mean, who else is to blame but them? I mean, aren't they put in a position where they really can't defend themselves for what happened? How else could they explain an accident? But I mean, look at these injuries.
That's right.
Look what's happening here.
That's exactly right. You hit it on the head. The fact that these young children are in the care and custody of these two adults, the only thing the defense can say is that it was an accident, or maybe it happened elsewhere, but I don't think they're going to be able to prove that
Right.
the children were in the custody of other people.
Well, we're still waiting to see more of this case. It has just started. We're learning really graphic details, and I know this is tough to listen to, but it's important nonetheless. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be live. Well, look, without Millie actually coming forward and saying, you know, these are how the injuries happened, we're left to speculate. What seems more believable? Is this a result of abuse, or is this a result of just roughhousing? How do you think the defense did?
I think the defense did a decent job. She's trying to show that the injuries were, you know, from normal roughhousing, and that those weren't that severe, and that she could still move her extremities, and that it was possible that these occurred during everyday play and recreation. But the injuries and the pictures were so severe, I don't think the jury is going to fall for that.
And also the date of this one, November 17, 2015, is the same day that we're talking about what happened to Layla.
That's exactly
so
right.
So it doesn't make sense that she'd have these injuries at the same time that her sister, you know, is brought in critical condition. But the idea is, you know, if you listen to the defense, this girl accidentally choked on a piece of chicken while this girl was roughhousing and had a rash.
That's right. It sounds like the parents, and Jennifer, the mother in particular, were being abusive to both of the children at the same time. And one thing I want to add about the rash, the witness on the stand, the nurse, she really could have said that it was from neglect. And so in a way that would have been abuse. If it wasn't contagious, it still could have been abuse by not helping the child with the bedwetting problem.
What do you think about the defense of it being an accident?
The bedwetting, or
the choking on the chicken?
The choking on the chicken. Well, they've shown that the chicken was like a chicken McNugget and not chicken with bones. So I think, yes, you can choke on any type of food, but to do the CPR that she was doing was too extreme.
Okay, Terri, I want us to stand by. On the stand is the birth mother of Layla. Let's go live. Okay, this is absolutely tragic when you listen to it, and you can't help but think that, you know, at the time the kids are taken away because of her drug abuse, would they have been left in better hands if they were with her?
Probably. And I think one of the things the prosecution is trying to say is, okay, so she's not the best mom in the world, but Millie and the baby weren't injured while they were with their own birth mother.
But she can't really tie anything to the actual date in question, right?
She can. And one of the things about this witness, she's very sympathetic,
right,
but she's not very clear, so she's not going to be able to establish timelines.
Right.
And I think the prosecution is trying to do that.
And the defense is going to pick apart at that as well. Even though she is a sensitive witness, as we talked about, this does give them grounds to jump. And again, they're saying this is a complete accident, that their clients are completely innocent. They never abused these girls. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we plan to jump live. Busy day here on the network. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this.